I solemnly swear that I am up to no good.
Carpe diem. Seize the day.
There's no such thing as a painless lesson. They just don't exist. Sacrifices are necessary. You can't gain anything without losing something first. Although, if you can endure that pain and walk away from it, you'll find that you now have a heart strong enough to overcome any obstacle.
Welcome to Sensible Mischief. I'm Lance Nelson, and with me is Spencer Jones.
How's it going?
He's a good kid, bless his heart. We've known each other our entire lives. We're cousins. He got the looks, the talent, the hair in the family, but I got Paula's love.
That's right.
So I think I won.
That's right.
But yeah.
How you doing?
Doing good, man. What about you? Thanks for doing this. I appreciate it.
I missed you
You're beautiful, man. Look at you.
until you were here.
And then I was here, and now it's like, when are you leaving?
No.
Which is the day after tomorrow now.
Well,
We're almost there.
then I'll miss you again.
You've done so good. You're at the cusp
Of you leaving?
of me leaving.
Well, then I'll miss you again.
Oh, well, I'd rather be missed than overstay my welcome.
Well,
That's what's going to be on my epitaph. I'd rather be missed than overstay my welcome.
that's beautiful. That's going to be on your tombstone?
This is going to be on my tombstone. I'm excited for it. It's going to be good. Right now, we're in North Carolina at the moment. I have a job taking me to Orlando after this, but we just had a family reunion. I'll probably throw some family footage right there. Look at Blaine playing with those sparklers. It's beautiful.
That was
And
my
then-
favorite part. I wasn't there, but I saw the video.
I wasn't there, but I loved it. That was my favorite part. Let's see. Then we also went on a cool boating trip yesterday. Spencer freaking killed it on the wake surfing.
Surfing.
Yes. Look
I
at
mean,
that
it
man.
was the first time that I'd let go of the rope and successfully done that. So if that
And that's the first
constitutes-
time you ever tried it too.
Right.
So killing it.
Oh, I
Just-
appreciate it.
yeah. Look at you, just the
You
Michael
were-
Jordan.
I will say
of
this:
wake.
you were more of a natural on the water sports
Stop
than
it.
I was.
Stop it.
And I'm gonna keep talking because
Oh.
your hand is still going.
It is moving. What are you talking about?
Wakeboarding, wake surfing, tubing.
Tubing.
It just seemed like you were amphibious out there. You were using both hands. That's an inside joke. That's an NC State basketball joke right there.
It's a good one. It's one of my favorites.
I could tell.
I love it. Makes me happy. Let's see. So the point of this show is to talk about like reaching outside of yourself, living life to the fullest, never turning down
I
challenges.
just got water on myself.
How
It's okay.
dare you? That's the beautiful thing about editing. We can cut that right out. Look, it's dry.
Right. I don't think you're gonna.
Except for this part now, me saying I cut that out.
Right.
And then they're gonna be like, "What did he cut out?"
What do you cut?
You'll never know
You won't know.
because I cut it. I had to film outside because I miss cicadas, but this is gonna be a nightmare trying to edit this sound-wise because it's gonna be bad, and also the light is steadily gonna get darker
That's all right.
as we go. But you know what? I'm excited for it.
It looks good out here.
I've been trying to rack my brain because I asked him to do this about 20 minutes ago. And I was just like, what are some adventures that we've gotten into? And I keep thinking about it, and it's quite a lot, actually.
Yeah, there's a lot.
One of my favorites was one time when we were younger, we went into a bomb shelter. And, yeah. Do you remember that?
I do. That was actually what I was thinking about when you said, like, what kind of stories would you tell? And that was one of the first came to mind. So we were at my friend Tyler White's house, still one of my best friends to this day. Do you look at the camera when you do
I
this?
look at both. I keep
You
switching
kinda go
back,
back
and
and
forth.
forth.
That's the problem is normally I have 3 cameras to be
Yeah.
able to balance it.
Mm-hmm.
But, like...
Cool. I'm just
get it.
gonna
I'm just
gonna
look at me,
look-
look at them, look at whichever
look at
one.
this Chick-fil-A that's over
That
there
is
in
the
sky.
one thing I would not look at. And you do. Okay.
Okay.
That's fine.
But anyway, we were at my good friend Tyler White's house. He's like family, and he had a bomb shelter in his backyard, and so we go down there, and my cousin Lance's brother Dean, he
We'll
decides
insert a picture right here.
he decides to slam the door shut. And we get out of it because I don't know how we got out of it. It was really stuck there.
So the
but then
first time,
right? That's what I'm saying is
Yeah.
we get out,
yeah.
and then for some reason he slams the door even harder.
So the first time,
This is
you
not like
guys-
a rag on Dean. He's also one of my favorite people in the world. He seriously one of my heroes.
He's a great one. So what happened the first time is you guys already went into it, and then I was like, "Oh, I'll be down there in a minute," and then I went down, and you guys were already stuck in there.
Mm-hmm.
And then like I pulled open the door, and one thing that I appreciated you did, you were like, "Lance, you saved us. You saved our lives." and like it went to my little head. I already had a big head, like physically, but
It was a big hit.
and then Dean was just like, "No, I did that. I pulled it." So what he does is he grabs a door and he just slams it as hard as he could, which is way worse than the first time. Because the first time it was kind of just stuck,
Right.
and the second time it was like almost wedged in there.
Totally. I remember I was the youngest, and I believe someone said that if anyone was eating, it would be me first.
No, it was Taylor. Like I remember Taylor went up to Buddy and he was like, "Buddy, we're eating you first, and then every man for himself."
Oh,
after
because
that.
he slammed
Because
it.
he slammed
That
the door.
makes sense.
We also had some crackers that were in there from the 50s.
Right. I don't know what we were going to get
Yeah.
nutritionally out of that, but
Yeah.
but then Tyler's dad, he came down. He had to open it up with like a hammer or something, and like bang on it till it opened. But the nice thing was if Tyler had come down there, nobody would have known where we were. I mean, I think they would have found us eventually, but it wouldn't have been like an hour thing. It would have been.
Could
like
you
a day
imagine?
thing.
That was when we were what, like 14, 15?
Maybe even younger.
Yeah.
13,
I mean,
12.
we could
I
have
mean,
been there.
now we're
for-
just kind of going. This is like
Yeah.
1 or 2 years. I'm not
Yeah.
going to argue.
Yeah. I just picture us now coming out of the bomb shelter being like, "Oh, guys, you're never going to guess what happened. Like, tell us of what happened." "Oh, well, Trump's the president now." Really?
Corona.
Trump? The guy from Home Alone 2 is the president? Okay, cool, whatever. Yeah, Corona is a thing now, and you're just
Right.
like, "Oh, wow."
Right.
So everyone wears masks now. But we were watching Princess Bride not too long ago, and one of my favorite lines from the movie, noticing this time, is he was like, "Why do you wear a mask?" And he's like, "They're very comfortable. Everyone will be wearing them in the future." And I was just like, "Oh, okay." Called it.
That's funny.
Let's see. I remember there was one time that Spencer tried to help me get a girl's number. Her name was Anna, and I remember thinking she was very pretty.
Lovely girl.
She was a lovely girl. And then what happened was, I'm trying to remember if you got the number or Buddy
Dean-
got the
yeah,
number.
Dean got the number.
So Dean got the number from Courtney, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So they give me the number, and then they're just like, "Dude, just call her and tell her." Like, just I was like, "What about?"
What do I tell her? What do I tell her when I call her? That I had her. Like, Dean goes, just tell her the truth, man. And then Lance said,
I don't even know the truth, man.
"Yeah, it was a good time." That was funny to me because I grew up in Roanoke Rapids, North Carolina, and while growing up I didn't really like it. Now I have like a real fondness to it, and it's almost like sacred ground to me now. But like, I think one of the reasons I didn't love it was because I had very little success with girls, and then Lance would come into town and he'd get numbers and stuff. And
It's not true, but we'll let this fantasy go out.
but I think
At
part of
least in
mine
my
was
mind.
was Sweet Paula. She didn't, she was. Let's just keep going, but
All right.
Sweet Paula,
Sweet Paula, we love you.
so much.
I mean, our adventures have taken us literally around the world. We went to London one time.
Yeah, for 2 months.
So Spencer has been playing music for a while now, and then we got to meet a good friend through that, Rob Gardner, who works with the London Symphony Orchestra a lot and is in charge of cinematic pop. And then you guys went over, and then you guys were like, "Hey, we can't pay you, but do you want to like videotape the stuff? And you get to live with us rent free for 2 months." And I was like, "Yeah, let's go."
It was pretty dope.
I loved it. It was great.
A lot of good
like,
memories.
One of my favorite memories, professionally speaking, even though I didn't get paid, but I got to live there for free, so I'm going to count it professionally,
There you go.
was working with the London Symphony Orchestra. Like, I was the only person in the room
Right.
that wasn't playing an instrument at the time. Like they kicked everyone else out into the booth, and I got to kind of wander around through all
Right.
the musicians. And
You did say, and you
and
can look that
I
up
met
on
the pianist
YouTube.
named Gladys, lovely lady.
Oh, Gladys.
We still talk to this day.
So
That's for
Lance,
sure we don't
you can
talk
look
about.
that up on YouTube. You can type in "Solo" by Cinematic Pop.
Which is a song Spencer wrote,
I
by the
did.
way.
And it was so cool because Lance is a fun loving dude. You can joke around with him and everything, but like when you say it's time to go, like Lance goes into a different Lance mode, if you will, and it was just cool to see him in that environment and just to see him connecting with those musicians who was extremely nervous. Like I tried to tell them thank you at one point, and I sounded like a fool. Like I was just like, thank you for all that you play.
It is quite eloquent.
I didn't say that though. It was like that would have been
Thank
better.
you for all that you play.
Anyway, what I tried to say did not come out right, but then seeing Lance, he was just over there making friends with the pianist. He's played on like, Star Wars and Harry Potter, and he's just like,
She was really lovely.
So what do you think about? So where's the best food around here? And I was like, what is he asking for that?
You guys got any good fish and chips around here?
Right. So that was a really cool experience. I'll never forget that for sure.
I remember there were many times back in the day we used to play like basketball at the rec center and stuff. Spencer back in the day, he was good.
Stop.
Stop it.
That's the first time someone said that in years.
Yeah. Well,
I appreciate
it
it.
literally has been years.
Yeah, stop playing.
Yeah.
Long time ago.
But yeah.
It was fun. Lance would always make so Lance, me and Dean would be playing, and we'd score a lot.
I have one of the ugliest shots you'll ever see, and
I
I
don't
can't
know, I would
dribble
say
to
that.
save my life. But for some reason, it would go in occasionally
When the game was on the
when the
line.
game's on the line. I could make it.
Right.
So I'm like the Adam Vinatieri of
Exactly.
the YMCA basketball in Roanoke Rapids.
Right. It's almost like you would. It was almost like you were acting like you weren't good until the very last shot, and then you're like,
I'm glad you finally caught on. Thank you for noticing.
now we figured it out.
Yeah, it only took us 17 years.
Another memory I was thinking about was the first time that I performed with Rob and Cinematic Pop. I could just kind of feel, I didn't know what to expect, but I knew that it was going to be cool, and I knew that I wanted you to be there for it because I don't know why, I just think I've always enjoyed experiencing those things with you. And so we get there, and I'm expecting, like, I heard that there were going to be, there's going to be an orchestra there. Or I just had never been around it to know, but there were literally like 60 orchestra members. There were like 50 choir members, and all these cameras are set up, and it was just blew me away. And I think I would have been overwhelmed if I didn't have Lance with me, and he just kind of was like, dude, you got this? When really, I shouldn't have had this. Like, I'd never done anything like that.
You did great. You can look that up on YouTube as well. It's Cinematic Pop. Let's see, you did Solo, Chasing Cars.
Yeah, the first one was Chasing Cars, Human. I'm not even sure if there's anything else.
You did Sail.
Sail, that's right.
I meant to say Sail, but I said Solo.
I got you.
I was like, so you did Sail,
right,
and then you just listed.
Yeah, and that was
fix that in it.
That definitely like changed things a lot. Like after that, working with Rob, just the way we grew up. I grew up homeschooled in this little town. Like once I said I didn't love it growing up, but now I do love it. I just went back and loved it. And there was very little music training. I had a piano teacher. It was awesome lady, Miss Dudley. But being homeschooled, not being in a choir, not being in a band or anything, like it just was like I was always going to search out music. Like I needed something to express myself. I needed something to say who I was, but there weren't a lot of opportunities there. And going and working with Rob, one, it was this huge, door opening to perform in music, but also just since then, if I look at where I was musically or what I knew how to do musically back then versus now, like pretty much everything I learned was from Rob, and so it's cool to see that journey. I'm glad that you were there with me.
Yeah, man.
From the beginning.
I loved it. How do you think homeschooling has affected you? Because, like, for a long time, I remember you just not wanting to talk about it, just ignore the subject completely.
It was weird, yeah.
Get into, like, discussions. One of my go-to, like, jokes is whenever I do something stupid, I was like, oh, I'm sorry, I was homeschooled. And then my dad hates that joke. But, like, for me, it's kind of a defense mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of like, hey, I'm admitting that, like, I don't know, by taking power of something that I'm actually very self-conscious about, it kind of makes me feel a little bit better,
right?
Type of thing. That being said, if someone makes the joke about me being homeschooled,
which that's what's been really interesting to me, and I've thought about that a lot with other things, like where, you know, there's these debates on whether a certain group of people can say something or
genuinely, like that, like the N-word, for example,
right?
Like, I used to say that, like, in high school and stuff, and then, like, someone made the joke for homeschooled to me, and then it was, like, almost that thing where it's like, you can't
That's
say that,
yeah.
But people who are homeschooled can say that.
Right.
And then it's just like, I was just like, oh, I've made a terrible mistake.
Right. Yeah, that's how I feel.
And then I'm just like, I'm sorry.
That's how I feel about a lot of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's cool that you had that experience. But yeah, I see that, and I think I love that I was homeschooled now, and I think that it made me into who I was, and I don't think I would have gotten into music without it, and I don't think I would be who I was without it, but I still, you know, get very anxious about, let's say, like, spelling things in front of people, you know, like, or, which is interesting. That's a weird thing to, like, be anxious about, but
I can read little bit in public, but if they ask me to read, like, long paragraphs, like, I'm good to a certain point, and then I mess up on one word, and then it just, like, I mess up on everything.
Which is interesting
afterwards.
because talking to you, like, Rob, like, we talked about Rob Gardner a lot. Rob is a genius, right? Like, Rob is, you think about, like, the smartest people you're ever going to meet, that's Rob, right? And every night we'd sit down, and me, you, Dean, and Lance would have, well, I said you twice, but, like, we would have these conversations, and Lance is one of the smartest people I've ever met, and it's crazy to me that one of the smartest people I've ever met can be insecure about that, right? And I'm also insecure about those same things because of just some of the experiences I get. And I don't think that, you know, my parents, who I love and who are my best friends, get that really. I think only the people that went through it like we did, you know, get it. And there's a lot of good, like, but then I also can't deny that I don't think that I would have, this is weird, but I don't think I would have played with the London Symphony without being homeschooled. It's like a weird, you know, balance.
It's a catch-22 type of thing, where you're very self-conscious about something, but at the same time, you wouldn't be where you are without.
Right, and so you just find peace with it. You just move, you know, keep moving forward, and I'm really happy about it. And I like talking about it now, which is interesting because I didn't.
I remember when I first moved to Arizona, you were just like, don't tell anyone I was homeschooled.
Right.
And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then my big joke is, hey, what's up, guys?
Well, I think that's the thing.
One thing about our families,
like,
though, is, like, we're very normal for homeschooled people.
Right.
Like, I mean, I can't think of anyone crazy, awkward type of thing, which is funny because whenever we go to homeschooling conventions back in Virginia, it was like people that have never seen the light of day, and they could, like, just list off every Pokemon, anime, anything.
Which I can now.
I can. That's the funny thing is now the older we've gotten, we actually got into anime.
Right.
But at the time, it was like, oh, that's a big no-no. We don't do that.
Right.
But
Full Metal Alchemist.
It's great. It's great. You should watch it. If you like good storytelling, you should watch Full Metal Alchemist.
The thing about not wanting people to know if you're homeschooled or not is not so much about, it's more about not wanting people to jump to conclusions about you.
Yeah.
And if you can get to a point where you're okay with who you are and you don't care what people think, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And you just are okay with, if who cares what they think, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
I get you, man. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. It's
Life teaches you many lessons.
Yeah. It's just a journey.
Yeah. One thing, like, this is really stupid and random. I've been staying with them for the past couple days, like, visiting, and Natalie was watching Twilight.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that, digging into my own neuroses and things, like, I asked...
my favorite film, by the way.
Moving on. I asked Natalie, hey, when did they tell, like, Bella's parents that, like, hey, she's a vampire? And they're like, they don't. I was like, are you serious? Like,
It's a weird plot.
that just,
plot
like,
point.
for me, like, and then I, like, got really emotional thinking about, like, someone that I haven't met. But, like, I kept thinking about if my daughter was a vampire or, like, a werewolf or whatever she is, and she didn't tell me a big part of herself, I'd be devastated as a father. But maybe that's just something inside me.
I was really
that,
hoping
like,
we would get to Twilight today.
Well, I'm glad that I brought it
I'm
up.
glad you brought it up because, I don't know where I was going with that, but I know that you, I know what you're saying. I think that that's a big thing. I'm not a father.
Like, I told Natalie at one point, I was like, I want to know, like, even if my daughter was a murderer, I'd want to know where the body is so I could help her bury it. And then quickly turn ourselves into the cops afterwards. But, like,
It's interesting.
but it was just one of those things where it's just like, oh, but, like, I mean, does that say something about my own insecurities, that I just want really close relationships with people, but I'm afraid that I won't have that? And that's one of the reasons why I just started, like, breaking down. Because, like, you have to realize, this messed with me for a minute. This wasn't just like I was like, I'm going in the garage for a minute. I gotta work some stuff out.
So you're saying that Twilight really affected you? No, listen, it's a good question. So what I think about this is, it goes down to this: do you want to have the perfect family, appearances wise, or do you want your kids to be able to come and tell you everything?
I'd rather have the kids come up and tell me stuff, but that's just me. That's me knowing nothing.
I think also the way that I phrase that seems to imply that I agree with you.
Yeah.
It's way better to be able to talk to people about things. And, like, I feel that way about my siblings. I feel that way about my friends. Judgment, shame, all these things. Like, Benson said it, my brother said it a few times, is that life is really just about your relationships. And you need to be able to, like, if I can't tell you, what I'm going through because I'm afraid that you're going to feel a different way about me or you're going to judge me or something, then that is a wall between our friendship and our connection, right? And I think that works with parents. I think that works with friends. It works with romantic relationships. It's the same thing. You want to get to a place where you can talk to the people you love about the things that hurt, the things that you love, the things that you're worried about, the things that maybe you're embarrassed about, and I think that's what it's all about.
Yeah, man. What made you want to get into music in the first place?
It's funny because growing up, I feel like I was the type of person that felt a lot of things, but struggled and still kind of struggles to communicate those things. I remember, my parents would always encourage me to keep a journal, but I never could express what I was really feeling in those journals. Maybe because I was afraid somebody would see it or whatever.
Isn't that funny?
Mm-hmm.
Like, even in, like, for me at least, I never wrote down my deep feelings about something because I was always worried someone was going to see it.
Right.
So it's like, I like, even to apparently myself, I couldn't open up.
Right. Isn't
Like,
that weird?
It's just
the
like...
The idea of not being able to open up to yourself is a crazy idea,
Yeah.
but I think that's a real thing. I think that I was, growing up, I was always very observant of the people around me, and I felt like I got what made this person tick, or this, my brother tick, or
Yeah.
what, and then I'd like ask myself what makes me tick,
Yeah.
and I couldn't. It was
Honestly,
hard to figure
isn't
it
that
out.
crazy?
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
So I wasn't able to express myself in talking to the people I loved, or writing in a journal or whatever. And I distinctly remember laying in bed and, like, I don't know if it was a prayer or if it was just a thought, but I was like, music has this power to communicate a feeling like nothing else. And it's I think film does it too, but a lot of times film uses music to help convey
Honestly, I mean, like, for example, a lot of things that people do they're like, hey, you want to see if you can understand a scene, mute it, and just see if you can understand what's going on without, like, seeing what's being said.
Mm-hmm.
But that is so much harder, as where music, no matter what, you could throw it in any situation, and it's going to hit you in the feels.
Right.
And you're going to, like, feel things that... I don't know. There have been so many times where, like, just emotionally, I hear a song and I'm just driving down the street, and then it just kind of feels like either weight is getting lifted off or put on there, where it's just like you start thinking about all the good and bad things in the world and everything.
Right.
And I like, that's one of the reasons why I love music. Anyway, I'm sorry. Keep going.
Totally. No, you're good. And so I think that night I was thinking, I want, like, if I had one wish, it would be to be able to communicate the way that I'm feeling and connect with people. And I think that was tricky, the way that when I was growing up, that I didn't feel like I connected with a lot of people. And I kind of just thought, if I could play music, then I would be able to help people know that, one, they're not alone in the way they're feeling. Because when you listen to a song and you feel something from it, basically what that is saying is that you and the person who wrote that or who's performing it are feeling something similar, or you connect on some way.
Yeah.
And so I wanted that, but I didn't know how to do that. And then Dean and I, your brother, would talk on the phone, and we'd be like, well, what if we, do you think we write the lyrics first, or do you think we write this verse? And really, there's no answer. You can do it however you want.
I just remember the time he was talking to you and he duct taped his cell phone to his head because he was so tired of holding it. Because they'd have, like,
I didn't know that.
2 to 4 hour conversations, 2 to 4 hour conversations daily. It felt like you guys were always on the phone. And then I just remember him just one day just like, I'm tired of holding my phone here, so he just duct taped his phone to his head.
Yeah, we'd be asking those questions, and we'd be listening to songs in a way that I don't think, maybe a lot of people do, but we were listening to different. We were asking, what is making us feel this way from this song? And eventually we started writing our own songs, and the crazy thing is now I feel like I can communicate those feelings that I couldn't communicate through journaling or through talking to the people I loved and wanted to talk to about these kind of intense feelings that I was feeling that I didn't even understand, because, like I said, I didn't really get myself.
Yeah.
But I felt these things really strongly. So that's why I got into music, is it's an outlet. And it's crazy because I've had some issues with my voice where I couldn't sing the way I wanted to, and feeling like you're losing that outlet is terrifying. And also I've noticed too that there's some people that in collaboration stuff is, if it's just something that everybody wants to be a part of, is to feel that feeling of creating music. It literally feels like you're flying. I can't describe it any better if you really, like, in the zone on it. So I love it.
That's awesome, man. I remember talking to Rob one time. He says, I asked him what made you want to get into music, and he gave kind of a general answer, but then he got into one specific thing, and he was like, that song American Pie? He's like, I wanted to make those people dance and forget about their problems for a little while. He's like, that's the reason why I want to get into music. It's just kind of lift people up type of thing. Because that's the thing, like whenever you're trying to get in shape, like I always listen to music or motivational speaking type of thing when I go on runs, but it's that type of thing where it just kind of gets you in the zone where you're like, I can do this.
Right.
I can take on the world.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, just like for me, for example, like I mean, to want to get into movies, like it's all about escapism. Like I love the idea of making the world a better place for at least 2 hours while people are like don't have to worry about taxes and all the stuff. Like I mean, don't get me wrong, these are real important issues.
Mm-hmm.
But if you just do that without enjoying life and like being inspired through art, whether that's music, movies, paintings, whatever it is, then is it really life?
Right.
But
I'm with you, man.
yeah.
And I think, to me, it's interesting too because you have a lot of people like growing up. Let's take the movie like Shawshank Redemption, for instance.
It's a great movie.
So to me, you have a lot of darkness. There's a lot of hard things that are tough to see, but that contrast of good and light versus dark, or whatever you want to call it, and the hope that is still in the world, even though there is negative stuff. I think music captures that. I think film captures that in a way that not many other things really do.
Yeah.
So
even that one scene where they're just kind of like, I don't understand to this day, I don't understand what those women were saying. But that's just the feeling I had.
Yeah, hope is a good thing.
Hope is a
Shout
good
out to Shawshank.
One thing I'm really excited for you and Benson is that you are talking to the head of music of Sony right now. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, it's Sony ATV, so it's Sony Publishing, and we, through some interesting connections, I guess, we were able to have a phone conversation with one of the head executives of Sony ATV, and now we're working with a songwriter who's signed with Sony, and we just wrote a song a couple days ago. It's still kind of too early to tell what will come of it, but if you told me, when I was 13 or 14 trying to get into writing songs, that we'd get a chance to do this, I would be pretty excited. So,
yeah, man.
So I'm excited about it. And Benson, my brother, he's got...
Longtime friend of the show.
Longtime friend of the show. He's got the shine. He's something special. So this is me predicting it, that he's something special at this, early point in his career.
Mark your calendars. Today's the day. Whatever it is when I put this up on YouTube or...
He saved me there. I won't go into a lot of detail, but in a co-writing session with the guy from Sony, Benson really came through. So we'll elaborate more on that later.
Coming through in the clutch. I love it. Well, man, I love you. You're one of my best friends. We've known each other since, I'll insert a picture here, since this long.
Yeah.
I'm thinking the raccoon hat.
That's exactly the one that I was thinking of.
Yep.
It's crazy. Yep. This has been a fun journey. Hope we'll have more fun things ahead.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you for watching. And if you want to look up any of Spencer's stuff, it's either under Spencer Jones, Red Hill Music, or Carolina Shine.
Yeah.
And
or
Cinematic
Pop. So that's 4 things. So don't don't feel like you gotta look at it all, but one of the 4, 2 of the 4, 3 of the 4.
Just go for all 4.
4 of the 4. Check them out.
You just want to get 4 in a row. That's the way you win the game. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Appreciate you having me on, man. Love you.
Love you. Thanks for watching.